Hello. This video is about how I organize and keep track of my genealogy materials, and I'm probably going to make two videos because I have two boxes here and they're actually for different purposes and they're organized pretty differently. This box is the one I'm going to talk about now. This box will be the other video. I've got both boxes at Target and they do stack on top of each other, but I took them down just so I can have an easier time showing you. But they do stack very well. They just have the bar here to hang files on. You do have to buy these files separately. They don't cost that much. These ones were nicer. They're see-through and they're just nicer. The ones I used for this one are cheaper and they're just not as nice. So you can do what you want, but it doesn't really matter what kind of file you have as long as it works. So my first set here of files is for my parents, because this box is the direct ancestor line. So you have your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, your great-great-grandparents. You don't have aunts, uncles, siblings, anything like that. It's just direct line ancestors. And you may think it's odd to have files for your parents if they're with you, but I think it's really nice because you can hang on to things like, my dad has work newsletters. My mom has programs from her choir performances. I also have their wedding invitation saved in there. And I think that's a good way to kind of hang on to your parents' things. And also, if they tell you any type of stories about their childhood, like you can kind of just jot it down and stick it in there. It doesn't have to be neat or fancy. You're just jotting down a note and putting it in there and it's saved. And I think that a lot of times people think, oh, I want to remember them saying that. So they'll jot it down and they just put it somewhere and it's lost or who knows what. So I love that I'm going to have all these things about my parents in one place. I have my parents, so it's not exactly research. I'm just asking them things, but I have those. So I have one for my dad, one for my mom. I always organize it with the man and then the woman just because you have to put it some way to be organized, and that's just the way that I picked. So you'll notice here there's a little one. There's a little one on my mom's file too. They have ones because they are the first generation that I'm researching. I don't need to research myself, so I have first generation. Grandparents all have twos because they're the second generation that I'm researching. So I do this the same way with having the man first. Like, I have my dad, then my mom. Now I have my dad's dad, my dad's mom, my mom's dad, my mom's mom. So I kind of always put the man's side first just because you need to have some way of having it all be uniform. So with the grandparents, you can do the same thing as parents. If you have your grandparents with you, you can do the same thing you did for the parents, where maybe you just have, notes you jotted down about things they told you. If your grandparents are already gone, you can save little mementos. Like in here, I have a napkin from my grandparents. It's a clean napkin, don't worry, not a used napkin, from my grandparents' 50th anniversary celebration. So I have that. I also have things like, let me dig this out for you. I also have when they have the funeral, you can save the little card from the funeral that has the birth and death date and everything. So those are grandparents. The next section is great-grandparents. And typically, unless you have special situations like blended families, remarriage, adoption, things like that, you should have, your two parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 great-great, and so on. It should always double unless you have the special situations, and then you might have some extra folders to add. So parents have 1s, all grandparents have 2s, all great-grandparents have 3s. So they have the little 3 on their file. And all of them have that. So there's 8 file. That's not one of them, sorry. So there's 8 files that have 3s on them. I had my dad's side, then my mom's side. Now, obviously, I did not know these people because they were from a long time ago. They're my grandparents' parents. So I've looked on Ancestry.com. Anytime I found anything, like this is a marriage record for my dad's grandma, I slid it in her file and I have it saved here. So some of them I don't really have anything for. This one, I have, one thing I have is census records. Now, what I do, because I don't want to make, a lot of times people had several kids. I don't want to make 10 copies of the same census record. I just don't. You might want to do that so that you have, like, a full, complete record of everything for each person. I just don't want to do that. So what I do is I just put the census record in what would traditionally be called the head of the household. I just put the census record in the husband or father's file, and this is his wife. I didn't put it in her file, but I know that I can look at her husband's for the census record. Or, my grandma. Where is she here? For my grandma's, I can just look at her dad's for that census record. That works for me. You might prefer to photocopy the same page so you can have it in each file. That's up to you. And then I was able to find my great-grandmother's teaching certificate. So I have different things that I found either online or photocopies that other relatives had that, you're able to photocopy from them. So it just is a direct line. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great. And then, let's see. The only thing I don't like is that parents, grandparents, the last grandparent has to be over here by themselves when it's like this. But it's just the direction that the files go, so that's fine. The other thing you'll notice is some of these don't even have names on them. And that's because I tend to know more about my mom's side of the family than my dad's. So I have both parents, all the grandparents, all the great-grandparents. When it comes to great-great-grandparents, I know my mom's side. I don't know my dad's side yet. So those files are reserved for each of those people when I find out who they are. But at the moment, they don't have names. And these people all do. That's my mom's side. So, and then I'll also have great-great-great, but I don't have any of those yet. So like I said, that first box is just direct line from your parents to your grandparents to your great. So it just goes all the way back. And you can stick anything in there, whether it's notes that you made that you either knew from the person or that you heard other people say, or you can find things online that you can print out and save. And one great thing about it is that it's pretty much always organized because you can change the order of things in here. If you're making a scrapbook, you're gluing things down, then you can't really replace them. So it's nice to just be able to drop things into a file. Also, if you find out that something wasn't from that person, you can just take it out. If you thought it was someone else, but it was someone with the same name, you just take it out of the file. The other good thing about it is that if you are going to visit someone who needs to see this, like you are going to go ask someone questions about family, and you want to take the file along to kind of jog their memory, you just pull out the file, stick it in your bag, and off you go. So you don't have to take, everything with you and, lug this big thing around. You just pull out the files you need. The other thing is, with your parents, I do think it's a good idea to start with your parents, possibly even with yourself, because if you think about it, you don't really need to research yourself or your parents, but you're going to have children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and they're not going to know your parents, so it's kind of a good idea to do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and make the second video now. Thanks for watching.